So that's that. I then had questions from distinguished Senator Ba, saying 6 weeks ago, what was the state I met NNPC? And I'll classify this into the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, I will say, you have very well-trained staff who are there. You have lots of committed people who want to help and change leadership. And never mind all the stories we hear about this institution. It is sad, for example, that if you look through what happens, 80% of people who work there are above board. They're working hard. They're committed. They make no decisions. And you have a very small percentage who do the sort of things that have created very bad reputational issues. So there are good people in there. I met a lot of good people. I met people dying for leadership. Leadership is key. How much leadership can you give so that people believe in you and work with you? Because like any dynamic organization, the leader determines the mantra. So they were dying for leadership. I met people who understood what the problems were, and in most cases had spent so much in all kinds of consultancy services to identify the problem. But there was a fairly big lack of executive will to move forward with some of those challenges. Now, the advantage we have today is that we are in an era of a president who is committed, completely committed to seeing very fundamental changes in this sector. And every conversation I have with him every week is geared to how much more can you do? And so for the first time, I can very clearly say that my problem would not be the president. My problem will be myself, my ability to harness the capacity of those who are there to understand that change is absolutely inevitable and there's an urgency of now. So that's what I meant. Now, in terms of the bad, corruption was a major issue, still is. We're working very hard to try and wipe that out. I am sure that if you follow the trend since I joined, we've literally cut short every contract that we found suspicious. Now, let me say this. When we cancel contracts, it is not a vote against personalities. It's a vote against the terms of those contracts. I'm not interested in who is doing the contract, but it must be transparent. The terms must yield the best values for this country. And so when I see people call me and say, why did you do this to me? It is not a personal issue. I am not going to go and lift the crude. I'm not going to provide the services. But this country must get the very best value out of every contract that is issued out of the oil industry. We owe ourselves that. We owe the people who represent that. We owe the international community who continues to watch with trepidation that. And so that's where we're headed. Now, so the corruption was a problem. Contracts were a problem, definitely. Structure was a problem. Over nearly 40% of the revenue that NNPC generates is utilized by NNPC for its own need. Indeed, if you look at the numbers for NNPC spends more than a lot of 3 or 4 or 5 states gathered together in terms of their annual budgets. So something has to give. A political will is also essential. So one of the things we've done is, for example, we've downsized tremendously at the upper level. We've moved from nine directorates, when you add the coordinating position, into about 4 or 5 directorates. We have literally removed from the system about 150 GGMs, and we'll slice that down to about 100 GGMs. We have moved general managers from a figure of about 180 to about 90-something. We're doing some very, very drastic cuts. But the problem is not just at top leadership. The problem is also at the bottom. And next week we're getting into the holistic item of looking at subsidiaries. Because a lot of the business is run by subsidiaries. How much staff do you need to run a business? Now, that is going to be transplanted on an altar of what is an ongoing holistic reform process. What is NNPC going to turn out to be eventually? Will it be as big as it is now? Will it focus on areas where the private sector is better able to? Or can we provide services in a manner that is efficient but yet cost efficient? Can we wipe out corruption, which takes about 10% really of the yield factors? Can we create an environment where the best Nigerians who have the capacity to do this business can get in, make an investment, and be sure of the rewards that will return to them? It is a whole mind-blowing exercise. But myself and my team are absolutely, absolutely committed to making sure that this works. And if I do get the approval of this revered body and the appointment from the president, I intend to continue to pursue those drastic measures that I've done over the last 6 weeks to ensure that we get to where we're supposed to be. What steps am I taking to transform? I've already talked of contract cancellations. I've talked of restructuring. I've talked of value addition audit. We're getting out to the industry to work with the majors to be sure that we're getting the best value for the investments that we make.
To be a bit louder.
South Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, let me congratulate you on your nomination to this office. My question is simple, and it's only one question. We know that local content and the participation of Nigerians in the oil industry has been an issue that successive governments have grappled with. The local government, you have been around the world, and you know the local participation in the oil industry in other environments. What are your local content targets as Minister of Petroleum? And also, what will you do to achieve these targets? Maybe I'll ask a second question. You've had a lot of experience in the wide and multivariate experience in the private sector. Now you are coming into the public sector. What are the best practices, the corporate government traditions that you believe you will bring from the private sector to the public sector in order to transform the NNPC? Thank you.
While noting that, also to note the question asked earlier by Dr. Akun.
Yes.
Senator Itemises.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President. I want to welcome the Red Chambers, Dr. Kachikwu Ibe. We feel that you have a round peg, a round hole this time around, considering what we have already seen you've done in the past 6 weeks. You assume duty as the GMD of NNPC. We want also to say that since Mr. President has indicated his intention to be the substantive minister for petroleum, and you, as if the Senate approves of your confirmation that you become a Minister of State for the Minister of Petroleum, I want to ask how you are going to coordinate this. Have the ability to have a president who is a minister and yourself as a Minister of State in terms of project delivery. That one. The other issue we want to ask that has been bothering the smooth operation of the industry is the lumped NNPC. And I'm happy also that in your NNPC 20 restructuring program here, you have them. That is the unbundling of NNPC for efficiency. We have had in the past so many people that have come before you come with a liberalization of the downstream sector, do one story after the other. But we have...
Distinguished Senator, could you put the question so that...
Yes, Mr. State President, I'm going to do so. But I want to say that we have had motion without movement. And this is bothering us. And that's why so many of us here want to ask questions. Because we know that if we get it right with NNPC, the industry here, that a lot of our problems as a nation will be solved. And then I say, how are you going to do effectively? So, in fact and indeed, the unbundling of NNPC, so that you have one. Let me give you an example. You have VPMC.
Distinguished Senator, I think, as I said, we need to give utmost respect to our colleagues. Put the question.
I'll do so shortly if I don't have so many interventions. So what I'm saying is that unbundling it so that you have